Good afternoon. Greetings to all the viewers. I welcome all of you to this session by Tillotoma Foundation titled Politics and Indian Foreign Policy in Post-Pandemic Scenario. I'm Yukta Acharya, Executive to the Tillotoma Foundation. Today's speaker is Professor Bimal Nanda, and he is the President of West Bengal Political Science Association. We have had the pleasure of having him at different seminars organized by us. These are difficult times globally as the entire world battles against the COVID-19 pandemic. It is evident that there would be paradigm shifts in the international scenario after this pandemic. We are here to discuss the changes that are likely to be incorporated into the Indian foreign policy to deal with the changed realities. The political scenario within the country and beyond will also have a deep impact on the foreign policy decisions. There is no doubt that India's position as one of the leading world powers will be further strengthened. The Indian government will also have to deal with the security threats. Our relationship with China and the United States will also prove to be crucial in the formation of our strategy. I request Professor Bimal Nanda to begin his talk. I request him to kindly limit his talk within 20 minutes. We can take questions at the end of Professor Nanda's talk. So,
I must convey my sincere gratitude to Tillotoma Foundation for arranging such a lecture. I don't consider it as a lecture, but I think it's a discussion, and it's a discussion on India's foreign policy after COVID-19 crisis. Now, at the outset, I must say that in international politics, we are habituated with discussing international relations and dividing it into several phases. For example, we can talk about 1648 Treaty of Westphalia, when the foundation of nation state was established after the Treaty of Westphalia. Then we can talk about 1918-1919, after the completion of the First World War, a new phase of international relations started after 1918 and 1919. Then it was 1945 when First World War was completed, and totally a new world started working after 1945. It is called post-Second World War international politics. Then we have 1990-91, which is called the post-Cold War international politics. Now, we are entering into a new phase in international relations, probably a new phase, and it is the post-COVID-19 international politics. We are going to enter into a new phase, that is the post-COVID international relations. I just referred to one columnist in the New York Times. On 17th March 2020, Thomas L. Friedman, the opinion columnist, wrote in the New York Times that, quote, there is a world before COVID, that is BC, before COVID, BC, or before Corona, and a after COVID, that is after Corona. So there may be two types of world, before COVID and after COVID, BC and AC. We have not even begun to fully grasp what the after COVID world will look like, What will be the nature of post-COVID international relation, we don't know. But definitely, there is going to be a new phase in international relation after the completion or when this COVID crisis is at least minimized. There may be a new phase in international relation. And it is too early to make any sweeping pronouncement on how the world will change after the coronavirus passes. It is too early to predict, but definitely there will be some change when at least we can get rid of this COVID crisis. So our discussion will be on the role of India, role of India and the politics, the world politics after the COVID-19 crisis. So this is our topic of discussion now. Now, what may be the possibilities? What are the possibilities? There may be two types of possibilities. Number one, after initial tension between USA and People's Republic of China, The pre-corona structure of international politics may go on with USA as a global leader, and the PRC continue to accumulate its financial prowess and continue its effort to bring the comparatively weak economies of the world to its fold. That means the present situation may be continued after the corona crisis. There is one possibility. There may be certain minor changes in the nature of international relations, but the present system may continue after the corona crisis. This is one possibility. এটা একটা সম্ভাবনা যে বর্তমান অবস্থাটাই থেকে গেল এবং ইউএসএ যেরকম গ্লোবাল লিডার থেকে গেল, চীন যেরকম একটা ফিনান্সিয়াল পাওয়ার হিসেবে এমার্জ করতে থাকলো এবং চলতেই থাকলো ইন্টারন্যাশনাল রিলেশনস এর বর্তমান অবস্থা উইথ সার্টেন মাইনর চেঞ্জেস। দিস ইজ ওয়ান পসিবিলিটি, বাট দেয়ার মে বি another possibility. What is the possibility? There may be a new Cold War between USA and the People's Republic of China. Okay, I'm speaking in English, only one or two lines in Bengali. There may be a new Cold War between USA and the People's Republic of China, and countries like India, Russia, or Brazil will be in a difficult position to decide its course of action, particularly India. That means a new Cold War may emerge after COVID crisis is over. A new type of Cold War may emerge after COVID crisis is over. That means the Cold War between USA and the People's Republic of China and the present middle powers like India, like Brazil, they will be in a new position. They have to cope with a new position, adjust with a new position in the post-COVID international politics. Now, what is the problem in the present situation? As you all know, the world has witnessed many epidemics in recent years. So many epidemics are there. For example, SARS was there, Ebola was there, Zika virus epidemic was there, but all of them were largely contained within the regions where they originated. These different types of virus, they were also dangerous, but they could be contained within the regimes where they did originate. But COVID-19 is a different type of virus. It has hit nearly every country in the world in just over 3 months. But you are seeing now, it has hit every countries of the world. And after corona crisis is over, or at least minimized, there may be a strong demand for global action. There may be a strong demand. Public opinion will demand more active action on the part of world organizations, the superpowers, etc. There is a strong possibility that the people may demand a global action because there is a strong possibility of another threat to people everywhere. There may be another virus, there may be another pandemic. So people may demand active participation on the part of all the states and the international organizations. There may be increasing demand to build stronger and effective public systems across the countries. There may be a demand. Now, there will be increasing demand for a global cooperation. The cooperation on the part of different countries of the world for more cooperation to save the mankind from another epidemic. Now, different international bodies like WHO, UNICEF, UNESCO, all these bodies, function under the aegis of United Nations Organization. They will demand more and more support from global powers. There will be more and more demand to make healthcare cheaper and more accessible around the world. So the people from different countries of the world, they will demand more global cooperation for the safety and security of the people as well as the nation states. This is one possibility. But in spite of this worldwide public demand, the world may move decidedly in the opposite direction. There is every possibility that the people will demand more cooperation to provide healthcare services to the people. But the nation states, they may run in the opposite side, the opposite direction, with protectionism and nationalism may become stronger. It is evident in different parts of the world, what you are seeing in USA, what you are seeing in India, what you are seeing in China, what you are seeing in Europe, everywhere there is a demand for protectionism and nationalism. The USA and China, they are currently locked in a blame game over who was responsible for the pandemic. They are blaming each other. Particularly the USA is blaming China for this pandemic. And time and again, the USA has alleged that China flouted norms of WHO by covering up early cases last December, and WHO remained mute spectator. USA is alleging that WHO is not capable enough to control the situation. Rather, it is protecting the interest of the People's Republic of China. And thus, USA first decided to have financial assistance to WHO, and now it has decided to sever ties, to cut off ties with World Health Organization, which is a drastic decision. Yesterday, the decision taken by US President that we have no relation with World Health Organization and it is protecting Chinese interest, we will not help WHO anymore. This is a drastic decision and it may have serious implication on global politics. Now, in Europe also you find far-right nationalists who are using the pandemic to boost their anti-globalist rhetoric. These things are going on in Europe also. So there is an increasing demand to the nation states for more and more protectionism and nationalism. So where is the course of action? Where is the course of the world politics? We cannot predict properly. But two possibilities are there, that there may be a Cold War, a new Cold War between US and China, or there may be a continuation of the present world political system with certain minor changes. I am talking about two possibilities in post-COVID international politics. Now, whatever be the nature of international politics in the post-COVID or after COVID world, what will be India's role? That we are discussing now. Now, India's foreign policy priorities will not see any drastic change. What India is following a policy now, I don't think that there will be a drastic change in India's foreign policy perspectives. Rather, India is increasingly becoming interested in playing a global role, at least from the very beginning of 20th century, particularly from 2014 when Narendra Modi government was installed in power. So India is following a foreign policy where India wants to play an active role in global politics. And I don't find any change in India's foreign policy perspective in post-COVID international relations. Rather, India will continue to pursue this policy, and I think more vigorously. Now, despite its domestic problems, there are several domestic problems in our country, but despite all these domestic problems, India has stood out for its globalism during the ongoing pandemic. We see India's globalizing attitude. India is in favor of its global role and a key player in global politics even during this pandemic. For example, India is adopting such policies which are consistent with India's own domestic and foreign policy interests. For example, last month, the Modi administration launched a regional cooperation program in South Asia. Narendra Modi, in a virtual meeting with all the leaders of South Asia, he gave his word that India will extend all possible help to the countries of South Asia. First, India placed $10 million towards an emergency shark fund, and later, India explored an information exchange platform, IEP, to facilitate exchange of expertise among South Asian health professionals. So during this pandemic also, India has not sat idle. Rather, India is playing its role properly and more actively. Now, in the post-corona world, such exchange of information and multilateral collaboration would be crucial. Why? Because all the states will have to exchange their informations. More cooperation among the countries of the world require exchange of information, and not just resisting the relapse of the virus, but also for preventing a future pandemic. So India has started an initiative, and I think it is becoming stronger. Now, in the post-pandemic world, India would want to lead such initiatives. India is leading now, and India would like to lead such initiatives. India's ultimate objective is to engage in the multilateral development of solutions to global policy challenges. For years, New Delhi has sought to stake its claim to global leadership. Now it has the opportunity. I think it's the God-gifted opportunity. The pandemic has given India this opportunity to play a more positive role in world politics after the COVID crisis is over. However, the role that India wants to play in after Corona world will be determined by how we deal with the crisis now. How we can deal with the crisis. All the countries of the world are suffering from COVID-19. India is also a major sufferer. India is now in the 9th position in the global the country where COVID has affected the people of our country. India is in a 9th position now. And it will depend on certain fundamental factors. What are the factors? The quality of leadership, the quality of administration at all levels, both center and state, and quality of institutional framework. It will depend on all these things. The quality of leadership, how our leadership can cope with the problem, how they can lead the country, how they can get rid of the people of the country out of this crisis. This is the first test before our leadership. And as you all know, India is a country where central government or state governments are there because it is a federal country. So it's the duty of the central government to lead the state governments also in the proper direction. This is the need of the hour. Then we must have the quality of institutional framework. Without proper institutional framework, we cannot fight with this crisis. So proper institutional framework is also needed. So definitely there are certain shortcomings. Definitely there are certain failures. We have some problems also. For example, migrant labor problems are there. Today, our Prime Minister Narendra Modi has also pointed out that there are certain problems with our migrant laborers. There are certain problems with our infrastructure, health infrastructure. But presently, India is able to develop its own infrastructure properly. India is trying to develop it. Now, the central government is taking necessary steps to overcome these problems. India's foreign policy is today well placed to handle all prevailing challenges as well as forthcoming ones in the post-COVID world order. This is the good news for us because we can cope with the problem. We can handle the problem properly. Now, if this is the situation where India can play its role, because if the present situation continues after present world political system, present world order continues after post COVID international politics, India cannot take back its own role. India will increasingly play a global role in international politics. But if the Cold War between China and USA starts, what should be India's policy option? If the tension between US and China leads to a new Cold War, the question is, what will be India's role? That is the most important thing, because there is a big possibility of a new Cold War between USA and China after the COVID crisis. Now, already more than 1 lakh people died in USA. Near about 1 lakh people died in USA, and millions of people are affected. So there is a tremor in domestic politics of USA, how to deal with China. And you all know President Trump is again giving threat to take action against China regularly. So there is every possibility that there may be a Cold War between USA and China after COVID-19 crisis. Now, if COVID-19 accelerates the competition and confrontation between the USA and China and simultaneously reduce the global authority of both the countries by eroding their absolute power and legitimacy, what India should do? India can enjoy greater bargaining capabilities in such a situation. Bargaining capability with both USA and China. If there is a constant conflict between US and China, if there is a trade war between US and China in the post-COVID-19 international politics, then there is a big possibility that India can enjoy greater bargaining power vis-a-vis USA and China. It will depend on India's ability to exert itself in the global power play. It will depend on our leadership, how they can exert their leadership at the global stage. What role India will play in such a situation? That means if a new Cold War starts between USA and China in post-COVID international politics. Now, only 1 minute more, okay. If India's relative power vis-a-vis US and China improves, it can play important role in global politics. For this direction, an extremely cautious approach will need to be adopted to interact with the superpowers, and bold reforms will be needed to improve all citizens' quality of life in the midst of a recession. Then there must be free flow of capital, labor, goods and services. In this world where distrust over China increases, India can be a part of multiple economic waves and gain from them. I will take only 30 seconds. To conclude, India needs another engine of growth in such a world. One such opportunity is large-scale manufacturing offer. China beat India in this game in post-pre-COVID-19 world. China attracted more and more international manufacturing units to China than India. But in a new world where China is distrusted, India can draw more foreign investment and build its own strength. And lastly, but everything depends on the willingness of the leadership to avail the God-gifted opportunity. Luckily for us, we have a leadership which wants to see India as a global power. The possibilities are there. Let us see how we can avail the opportunity. So how we can avail the God-gifted opportunity, that will depend on our leadership in the post-COVID-19 international relations. Thank you very much.
So thank you, sir, for the very insightful presentation, for the very insightful topic you presented to us. And it's very glad to have you. We are very grateful that you took out your time and shared the lecture with us. And I think whatever sir said was very relevant now, and very helpful for us to analyze things in a different perspective now, given this scenario.